What's up, guys? Welcome back to Almost Functional 40K. Here tonight, I'm going to be talking a little more about the Champions of Rust list that I have been running lately, what I've been liking about it, exactly how I play it, why I have which characters with which units, what I use them for in games, like the basic generic strategy I have going in, which obviously, depending on layout, mission, and opponent, can have to change, but just the basic thoughts behind the list. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and bring up the list here. So the list is Champions of Rust. We've got Logan. He's the warlord running by himself. We've got Ragnar, who runs with a 6-man blade guard. Ulrich runs with 10 Wolfguard. Captain runs with 5 intercessors. Chaplain runs with 6 more blade guard. Jump pack chaplain with 10 assault intercessors with jump packs. That's those squads there. 2 5-man infiltrator squads, 1 5-man scout squad, redeemer, impulsor, and rhino. So I guess we might as well just start at the top of the list, Logan, and bring him mainly for his once a game full reroll charge, full reroll to hit. Normally I pop that around turn 3, depending on the matchup. It gives you a turn or two to stage. Hopefully you have unlocked sustained and lethal by that point. So when you go in, you can really make your go turn super effective. Normally start him in reserve and deep strike him, other than popping his ability. He, other than that, really is just an objective holder, secondary doer, just like an action monkey. It seems weird to do that with Logan, but he's really hard to kill. Great for with the deep strike, getting you some behind enemy lines, some established locuses. Does a containment for me a lot. And then after that, he can really go kill a little squad holding a backfield objective or something. He doesn't really get into big stuff very often. He's more just do actions, kill little backfield stuff type thing, and then pop his ability to make the army more efficient on its go turn. So that's pretty simple what we do with Logan. Then we'll go to the 2 infiltrator squads, which I like running 2. A lot of people tell me I shouldn't run 2. I should drop 1. 2's just way too many points in them. For the way I like to play, I really enjoy it. They really shut down the back half of the board for me having to worry about anything dropping back there. And with the Land Raiders staged normally toward the middle, and then the Impulsor and Rhino with stuff in it staged on my flanks, there's really not a hole for people to drop between them. So really you have to drop in front of my army, which is where I want you. And it really, people have a hard time scoring behind enemy lines, makes engage very difficult. You're not locusing or sabotaging in my deployment zone. It really shuts down a bunch of the secret mission stuff toward the end of the game. So a lot of times it's 200 points of my army that just sits in my backfield and does nothing all game other than holding my home field objective and maybe an action or something here or there. But for the most part, they just stand there once they get in position turn 1 and really don't move again for the rest of the game if everything goes well. But I find that works for me. So I don't mind having that 200 points back there. It seems to be really efficient for the way I like to run the list. I know some people disagree with that, but sometimes you just have to go with what works for you. Then we have the 5-man scout squad. They have the uppy downy if no one's within 6 inches of them. They're good for, a lot of times I like to put them near the middle board objective, just outside of a piece of terrain, so that if the opponent gets first turn, they can scout 6 inches back. It'd be unchargeable and out of line of sight behind one of those middle ruins, and able to either up down if I need them to, or a lot of times I'll leave them there turn 1 if no one's really in a threatening position to possibly pop out and get my area denial or something, secure no man's land, something like that. And if I get first turn, obviously same thing. If I draw secure area denial, anything like that, turn 1, I can achieve it with 65-point scouts and really not have to expose anything else from the list, especially if I'm fighting a fairly shooty army or another assaulty army. I'm really not giving up much to score some early points. And if I don't throw anything like that turn 1, then I will still move them back behind that wall, just like if my opponent had got first turn. So that's really what I do with the scouts. Then Ragnar, I have Ragnar running with 6 Blade Guard in the Impulsor. Ragnar gives them advance and charge. The reason I like having them in the Impulsor is, 1, I can leave them in a little while and keep them safe and move to positions, and 2, if I do want to go turn 1 and I have the Impulsor on the line, it basically gives Ragnar 3 inch to disembark, 6-inch move, and his advance and charge. So it really just adds 3 inches to his threat range. And then the Impulsor and Rhino both kind of fill that purpose for their units, but once they're empty, a lot of times I find they're great for doing actions, move blocking, holding objectives, putting a couple little shots to kill last little guys out of units. Once they're empty, people really don't want to waste the resources to kill them because they're not like super easy to remove, and once they're empty, a couple Stormbolter or Stubber shots really aren't that scary to them. So I find once they're empty, if I get them in position and dump out their contents, people are so worried about killing the units coming out of them that they can just sit around and do actions and hold objectives for most of the game without really being much of really threatened at all. And then they do give you the option to occasionally get a sneaky little tank shock in to finish something off if you need to. So I really like having the transports in the list. But Ragnar, the reason I like running him with Blade Guard over Assault Intercessors is just they're more durable. They do a little more damage, and I really, really like Ragnar since with the advanced charge, I really push him down a flank pretty hard sometimes. I just like them having that survivability to stay alive as a threat over the Assault Intercessors. Same thing with the Chaplain. With the other squad, I put them in the Land Raider along with the Captain with the Black Death and Assault Intercessors, and the Chaplain just with the +1 to wound. The Strength 5 on the swords with +1 to wound just really gets you over a break point in a lot of games. And then the just survivability of Blade Guard, it's nice having them in the Land Raider, which I use a lot of times to threaten middle of the table. Use them similar to Ragnar's unit, but since they don't have the advance and charge, well, I can do it with the strat, but they don't have it for free. But I could, honestly, if I wanted to, because I just start sustain with game, you can push both Blade Guard out, advance and charge turn 1, and really, really get into something. But they serve kind of the same purpose. The Blade Guard themselves hit harder with the Chaplain because of the +1 to wound, but Ragnar hits like a truck on himself, so that unit is really also super, super scary without the +1 to wound. And you do have the strat in Champions of Russ for -1 AP and Lance if you get Beast Slayer active. So that's really just makes those Blade Guard units super efficient. Yorick the Slayer, I just started running him. I know a lot of other Space Wolves was running him earlier. I've tried him with the Blood Claws and with the Wolf Guard. Wolf Guard are 30 points more expensive. But them and the Blood Claws on the charge basically have the same attacks, same strength, same AP, and same damage. But for 30 points, what you gain is all the Wolf Guard can take Storm Shields, which makes them a lot more survivable, 10 Storm Shield bodies, and they get +1 to hit when led by a character. So all their 40 attacks are hitting on 2s instead of 3s. And then with Yorick, you get reroll 1s to hit and reroll 1s to wound. And if you're fighting a monster, character, vehicle, you get full reroll to hit and full reroll to wound. And that just really makes that unit efficient. They are only 1 damage and -1 AP, so I do find this unit gets the -1 or +1 AP and +1 to wound more than any of my other units because the Chaplain's unit already has a +1 wound built in, and they're already -2. Say that the Ragnar's unit's already at -2, so this is a unit I use it on most of the time, because taking them to -2 with +1 to wound, already at strength 5, and then already rerolling wounds into big stuff. They kill stuff you really, really wouldn't think a bunch of regular Marine bodies would kill. Um, so I find that unit to be really, really effective. The other unit is the Captain with the Black Death, running with 5 Assault Intercessors. The reason I run him with the Assault Intercessors is because they give the reroll 1 to wound, and if the thing you're attacking is on an objective, you get full rerolls to wound. Because in case you don't know, the Black Death gives the Captain anti-monster, anti-vehicle 4+, and the generic Captain has a rule called Our Finest Hour. It's like once per game, he gets +3 attacks and dev wounds. So you have one turn where you can really, really turn him on. And I run him with the Relic Shield and the Mastercrafted Power Weapon. So it's 6 attacks on his go turn. When you turn him on, it's 9 attacks. Hitting on 2s. 4s are mortals. So you can really, if somebody's not on an objective, you can do about 10 to 12 mortals. But if they're on an objective for full rerolls a wound, you can get 16 to 18 mortals into somebody, which really, really picks up most vehicles. You're not going to pick up a knight, some stuff like that, but you're really going to whittle it down. But you'll pick up armigers, you'll pick up rhinos, impulsors, that type of stuff pretty easily. And I use him as a grenade to turn on my Beast Slayer, because a lot of times I'll start in Warrior Pride or Warriorborn. So then I have Sustain and Lethal active early. I just use that unit as a grenade, because once I can turn that on, it's really just ups the efficiency of the rest of the list. I know some people like to run the Black Death on like Wolf Lord with a hammer, or you can give a hammer to Captain, run it with a Judicar. People who have already built-in dev wounds, so that it's more efficient, so you get more bang for your buck over the game. I just went for the most possible attacks on our finest hour turn, because I normally throw him out there and don't expect him to really get more than that one round of combat most of the time. So that just fits the way I play him in the list, but there's definitely, if you're playing a different style list, putting the Black Death on a Judicar or Wolf Lord on Thunderwolf or something like that. All right, so that's that. And then we got the Land Raider. The Land Raider has the Chaplain's Blade Guard unit and the Captain's Intercessor unit with Black Death. I usually use the Land Raider to kind of pressure the middle of the table, and then either of those units can disembark out of it and go somewhere, or with it having assault ramp, you can move 12, then get out 3, and then it's basically a 15-inch move before your unit can charge. So if you get near that center objective, depending on the game and what's shooting at you, you really, really have good threat range with the units coming out of the Land Raider. And the Redeemer, I just find its Overwatch is, in a lot of games, super, super strong. Even if it doesn't get to do it, just the deterrent of it, people are scared to walk into that range. So I find that to be one of the stronger things in the list. And a Land Raider with Armor of Contempt, and if you get it cover, really isn't a lot of stuff that picks it up super easy in one turn. It does happen occasionally, but it normally doesn't. And then the last unit is I have a Jump Pack Chaplain who's running with 10 Jump Pack Intercessors, Power Fist on the Sergeant, 2 Plasma Pistols. So they do the dev wounds on the charge. Every model that gets into engagement range rolls a dice. On a 4-up, they do a dev. And the Chaplain, when his unit's selected to fight, also rolls a dice. On a 3 or on a 4 or 5, he does D3 mortals, and on a 6, he does flat 3. So that's just a bunch of mortals you can put in before they actually start swinging, and then he gives the unit +1 to wound, which really makes that strength 4 a lot more efficient. So having 2 chaplains, that's 2 units I really don't need to spend strats to buff them, just because they have so many attacks and with +1 to wound. You go on Logan's go turn a lot of times, so you don't even need to reroll the hit. You got that up. It just really helps with their efficiency. And that unit, occasionally I'll deep strike it. I normally start it on the board, because with access to advance and charge, just their speed, they can really sometimes be one of your things you throw out early, because of the 4 units, they are the least deadly. They're really good into like more horde type armies. You fight something more elite, the devs help early, but I find the other 3 units are much more efficient at killing that kind of stuff. So normally what I do is, here's the basic game plan. Normally it's like I was saying, you put the 2 infiltrator squads, hold your backfield, scouts middle board to do early actions or stuff, or if the opponent gets first turn, scout back behind a wall to kind of move blocked, force them to have to go around the wall if they have infantry and stuff that wants to come through it, like a World Eater type army or something, force them to have to go around that terrain instead of through it. What else? And then Ragnar and his Impulsor and Ulrich and his Rhino normally are on 2 separate flanks. Every once in a while, if someone like really refuses flank or something, I could either put them both on the same flank to go after it, or put them both on the other flank to really try to crush the weak flank and swarm toward his backfield. And sometimes people see that and they think I'm leaving the other side completely empty, so they'll push up. But the speed of the Land Raider, being able to move 12 and have a 3 and 2, I can really go there, jump 2 units out of it, and still have a good threat on that side. So it's not really being as abandoned as much as I think, and the jump pack squad can switch sides really quickly to help support that. But most of the time, I will put them on 2 separate flanks just to help threaten the objective on each side. And depending on what happens, I'll normally use one to not let my opponent hold an objective early, even though I know I'm probably giving that squad away, and try to take the other one just to try to get a primary lead by one objective in one of the early turns. And that can vary whether you're going first or second. If you're going second and you know you're probably going to score more primary turn 5 than they are, just because you get that end of turn bonus, then sometimes you can be a little more patient with that. I do find this isn't a list I really go turn 1. It's more stage for turn or 2. Then when Logan drops, then full send. And the only thing I really send out early is the Black Death Captain, because I want to get the lethal hit strat active for the whole army before Logan's turn. So that unit, a lot of times I will throw out early turn 1 or 2 to try to kill a lone monster or vehicle to get that active for the army. Other than that, the only things I really sacrifice are the scouts, and I will, if I need to, jump the squads out of the Rhino or the Impulsor into a building where they can stage for the next turn, and sacrifice the Rhino or Impulsor to score an action or get an objective or move block or something like that early. So the 2 transports, the scouts, and the captain's unit are really my throwaway units early. But so far, that's how I've been running it. It's been doing fairly well. I've only got 2 games in with this full version of it. I have some other games with lists that were slight tweaks, but we're working towards this. And in all those games, I think if I'd run this version, they would have done a little better. But so far, I believe I am 5-0 with over the versions of the list, but just slightly getting more streamlined. I would say 3 of those games were against very good opponents. 2 were against, fairly average opponents. So I am really enjoying the list. I keep thinking about tweaking stuff and dropping this or that, but that's just having an army builder app on your phone. You're bored, you start trying to mess with stuff. But I don't think right now I'm going to change any of this. I think I'm going to leave it like this for a while because it just seems really efficient. I think I can fight everything and have a chance to win. I'm sure there's some things I could do to tech into beating certain things better, but I think it would make me worse against other things. I think this version right here just gives me the best chance into anything. So I'm giving up some advantages against certain matchups to shore up weaknesses in other matchups. So after the holidays, once down here they start doing some more events, because normally from like Thanksgiving to Christmas down here in Florida, where I'm at currently, the events really kind of dry up. But then the beginning of the year, they normally start back up. So once I start getting some tournament games in, not just test games, I will keep you guys updated on how it's going. But I find this list to be really efficient, has really good consistent damage output, and it's flexible so it can react. And with the transports and jump packs, it can reposition fairly well to support a side if things aren't going as well, or abandon a side to go really. I want to say the side that you think might not be going as well to just overwhelm a side, even if you already have a slight advantage there, just to force the opponent maybe to have to come to you while you're clearing up something over there. Especially against slower armies like Death Guard, stuff like that, where they're not really gonna be able to catch up to you. Um, but yeah, so feel free to give me your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, all that cool stuff. I'm going to be trying to have some more Space Wolf Space Wolf content coming out to you guys once we get our new detachment, because I'm hoping we'll get one like Dark Angels did, and I'm assuming there'll be a generic Marine detachment that we should also be able to access. So that'll be fun to start playing around with those. I really like my Champions of Restless, so unless one of those completely blows me out of the water, I'll probably stick with this list for a little while, although I will do some concept building and give my thoughts on the list for those. But with that being said, thank you guys, and I will catch you next time.